Our scripture for today is Matthew 17, 1 through 8. 6 days later, Jesus took with him Peter and James and his brother John, and they led them up a high mountain by themselves. And he was transfigured before them, and his face shone like the sun, and his clothes became dazzling white. Suddenly there appeared to them Moses and Elijah, talking with them. Then Peter said to Jesus, "Lord, it is good for us to be here. If you wish, I will make 3 dwellings here, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." While he was speaking, suddenly a bright cloud overshadowed them. And from the cloud a voice said, "This is my son, the beloved. With him I am well pleased. Listen to him." When the disciples heard this, they fell to the ground and were overcome by fear. But Jesus came and touched them, saying, "Get up and do not be afraid." And when they looked up, they saw no one except Jesus himself alone.
So we're going to have our campers. We're going to have our campers come up and share a little bit about their camping experience this week. So if you were up here earlier when we were practicing, come on up again. And as they're coming up, I wanted to share a little bit of something about this scripture and why we chose this scripture. Todd, you want to come on up too? The scripture that we just read is called the Transfiguration story, and it's a fairly famous story from Scripture, and it may be a little bit of an odd one to pair with a Camp Sunday, but there's a reason for that. I didn't get a chance to go to camp this summer, unfortunately, but I've been to camp a lot over the years, and my experience has often been that when you go out to camp, you have something of this kind of transfiguration experience. You see Jesus in a new light that you didn't before. You can often have these amazing and powerful experiences. And sometimes there is this feeling of wanting to stay there. Peter in this story says, "Hey, let's build 3 different buildings here and just camp out." And Jesus says, "Yeah, no, you can't do that. You can go up to the mountaintop, you see Jesus in a new way, but at some point you have to come back down and have to come back to life. And share what you have learned with other people." And so this morning, that is a little bit of what we are doing. We have people who have been to the mountaintop, or Camp Mount Herman, or Camp Colorado, wherever it might be, and actually a number of different camps. And we're going to share a little bit about that. We're going to start off with the girls that are up here, and then we'll have Levi, and then Gabe, and then Todd share some with you as well. But I'm going to hand this microphone to Azelle. We're going to do this interview style. So, first of all, the first question that I want to ask you is, what is your name and which camp did you go to? And tell them, not me.
My name is Isel, and I went to Camp Mount Herman.
My name is Clara, and I also went to Camp Mount Herman.
My name is Sydney, and I went to Camp Mount Herman.
My name is Molly. I went to Camp Mac for work camp, and I also went to Camp Colorado.
My name is Lydia, and I went to Camp Colorado.
All right, Lydia, starting down there, what is the most fun thing that you did at camp this year?
The hike to Russell's Ridge, the capture the flag, and, well, just being swimming in the river and just being outside.
My favorite thing at work camp was rock climbing on their tower and zip lining. And when I was at Camp Colorado, we had a talent show, and I did ballet and also sang to How Does a Moment Last Forever from the new Beauty and the Beast movie.
The most fun thing we did at Camp Mount Herman was probably the challenge course, meeting new friends, and going on the hikes.
My favorite things were fishing and the talent show.
My favorite part was probably spending time with all my friends.
Cool. Now, here's the last big question. What did you learn this summer about yourself or about God or something that new about the Bible or faith? What did you learn this summer?
I learned that God is in a lot of nature, and I learned new Bible verses study.
I learned new Bible verses, and I also learned that I'm really good at making friends, because when I came home, everyone was my friend there.
Okay. I learned a lot of Bible verses.
I came home with 6 new friends, and I met my 3rd cousin, and I also learned to get out of my comfort zone.
Well, nothing off the top of my head except, well, I learned that I can actually do a trust fall.
Which is a big thing. So one of the other things that I want to make sure that they have an opportunity to tell you, like I said earlier, our church very generously supports particularly young people who go to camp. We have financially supported all of the, or I think in some form, most of these kids. We have also supported a group of kids from the Liebrook Church, which is a church with a lot of Native Americans out in Colorado, New Mexico. Thank you know that part. I failed geography. But in any case, the important part is we have helped, our church has helped send them to camp over the course of this last year, maybe the last couple of years. So one of the things that we want to make sure to say to this congregation is a giant
Thank you.
Thank you.
all right. Thanks for sharing. You guys can sit down. We'll let the other ones share. Go for it.
First off, I'm just going to start out by saying if I continue on just too long, just grab a hook, pull me off stage, whatever works.
Okay.
Thank you guys for supporting on taking me to camp. I love camp. 6 years I've gone. I'm trying to remember. Was it 7th grade, my first year? Like summer of 7th grade, something like that. And one of the first things I've always noticed about camp is that first day, the main things on our mind is we now get a week without family, no electronics, work really in camp. So for some people that's a withdrawal. But then it does happen. But one of the main things that's my favorite part of camp has to be halfway through the first day, we end up getting to know each other. We do the name game, kind of basic stuff. It gets monotonous, I'm not going to lie. But then the second day we wake up, and then that's when we are kind of drawn to the reality of we are at Camp Colorado. We don't have to hide who we are. We don't have to worry about people liking us because we like everyone. We are, not kidding you, it takes half a day for us to become one family. We look out for each other. There's no, not cliche, cliques within camp. It's just everyone's friendly. And my favorite parts of camp, besides that, have to be, wow, okay, that's a long list. Let me shorten it. The food, first off, my high note right there, camp food. Below that has to be either swimming or this year we did capture the flag with water balloons. That was pretty fun. And then afterwards when it ended, we all gathered in that main area out in front of the lodge and just had an all-out water balloon war with some 600 water balloons. Swimming is another one. And then another one that's really important, which for some people they like it, some people they don't. It's kind of a preference thing, is the tier service. And for those of you that don't go to camp, it seems very simple. And it's just when it's your turn and there's not really your list, it's just kind of when you feel moved to, you go up to the fire, you grab a rock. And this rock is supposed to symbolize all your sorrows, all the things weighing you down. And you drop it in a tub of water. And that's supposed to signify that you are giving those sorrows to God. Then you take a pine cone, which isn't hard to find around Camp Colorado. And that symbolizes all your joys, all the things you're happy for, all the things that God has given you in the past year or 2 years, depending on how long it's been since you've been to camp. It can also be the hopes for the future, and you throw it in the fire. And that burning it also symbolizes giving it to God. For a lot of people, that is a very heavy situation to go through, because some people have a lot more sorrows than joys. Other people's it's lighthearted because they have a lot more joys than sorrows. But that's the night that really draws everyone together for that last day that we're now at camp, and halfway through that day we're realizing we have 2 more hours until we leave. We have 1 more hour till we leave. We have 30 minutes. We have 10, and then there's the moment where you have to get in your car or van or bus, whatever you group took, and that's the part that for me sucks the most at camp, because by that time you know people that you see from camp, you feel close, and it's just a simple act of leaving, but you know next year you'll be back, but you don't know if you'll be back with the same friends because situation happens. But I'm just very thankful. You guys pay for half my camp fee and transportation. It means a lot because it means that no matter what during the summer, I have 1 week that I know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen, though, because last year we had to go a day without running water. And some of us had a box of food that we realized that we didn't know at the time, but it was one box to feed 36 people, and we thought it was breakfast, but it was breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Didn't last long. And this year, our theme was branching out, and we had themes everything from treat others as yourself to get out of your comfort zone, go out in the world. Don't just stay within your church. Go places, help, as Myra did. And camp's always a great time. I love it.
Hello. I know we haven't known each other very well. Kind of skipped out a little bit last year. But this summer, I got the awesome chance to go to Camp Colorado and Camp Mount Herman, all within a month of each other. Like, I went to Camp Colorado senior high weekend. I assisted Becky Snell, who is the manager up there, for 1 week. But I also got to hang out with the senior highers. That's ultimately why I wanted to go. I teach senior high kids, so that was pretty fun. I got to experience their campfires, their Jeopardy. Is that how you say it? Jerry's Jeopardy, whatever. He's weird. I also got to see an awesome shooting star. I've never seen one before. I live in Wichita, like downtown, so everybody was like, "You've never seen one?" No, I've never seen one. Yeah, it was pretty awesome with all those senior hires. I got to experience the campfires along with them, and even though I wasn't a counselor to them, I had quite a few that I had added on Snapchat, social media, and Instagram or Facebook, and it's been really good to kind of get to know them a little better. Levi was one of them. That's why I keep looking over at Levi. I didn't even know he was from Wichita. He drove with us, and then they were like, "Hey, there's somebody from Wichita." I'm like, "Oh, hey." So I went to Camp Colorado, and then within 12 hours of getting back to the McPherson Church, I drove that morning to Camp Mount Herman, where they had asked me to do junior high camp, or junior camp. And I was the counselor. We didn't have as many kids as we did for pre-junior, but we had about 8. I'd never been to Camp Mount Herman before. I mean, I had been for about a day-ish to Camp Colorado just to pick up kids in vans. But I had heard, like, different stories about what Camp Mount Herman was like, what Camp Colorado was like, and it was amazing. It was hot, but it was amazing. They are 2 completely different places, and I got 2 completely different things out of both of them. And that's the first thing I always want to tell people, is that people have their, they love Camp Colorado versus Mount Herman. They like Mount Herman versus Colorado. I think that kids should get the chance to experience both. Not in the same summer, though. I mean, I know it's kind of expensive. I don't want to put parents in that predicament. I know I wouldn't want to be put in that predicament if I was a parent, but parents, let them experience both and then let them choose. If you can financially, that is the ultimate thing that I got as a counselor. Some of the kids that I got to meet, I know their families, and so it was good to meet those kids. So I was there for about a week with Mount Herman, came back to McPherson just for church, and then I knew that they needed a male counselor for pre-junior. I'm like, I need to get home. I haven't been in Wichita for 14 days. My grandma's going to be missing me. And I don't know if any of you know Dorothy Davidson, but she is very good at persuading people. And she's like, well, if they need a male counselor for pre-junior, you should probably go back if you have nothing to do. And so I went back. I drove with somebody from the McPherson Church and their daughter, and I met 3 of you. 3 of you are in here. Sorry, Sydney. I didn't see you in the back. And I had an amazing time there, too. I was the only male counselor that they had. So I had 6 kids. We had 4 boys, only 4 boys in the whole camp. And then I had Isel and Sydney in my group. We were the Black Beatles? Black Beatles, yeah. And that was also a great experience. 3 different camps, 3 completely different experiences. I really liked the younger kids too. They were very energetic. Should have gone to bed earlier. The junior kids, they were really good about going to bed, but man, the younger kids, oh my gosh. Took me like an hour to get the boys to bed. I'm like, oh my gosh, their parents are going to kill me when they come home. When they go home, they're not going to want to go to bed. But it was a fantastic experience. 3 weeks, I was dead tired when I came back, but I enjoyed it. And then I got asked to do senior high weekend for Camp Mount Herman with Sonia and Dale Yoder, and again, a blast. Some of the kids that went I hadn't met before, and so it was a pretty awesome experience. But if you can, please keep supporting the camps. I'm hoping that I get to go to Colorado and Mount Herman now that I have liable transportation. But that's what I would say as a counselor, is that it's amazing, and I had a great time meeting all 3 of you and Levi, wherever he went. You all were pretty great too, so thank you.
So in July, I directed the We Are Able work camp in Elgin, Illinois. That's a work camp for young adults with special needs. We had 7 participants ranging in age from 21 to 30 from a variety of states and 4 adult helpers. Over the 3.5 days of the work camp, we participated in a variety of service projects. Our first project was at the Northern Illinois Food Bank. There we repackaged and labeled canned goods that had been donated. We peeled off the labels and applied them to unlabeled cans of food. At the food bank, we also were given a tour of the facility and just saw how massive an operation it really is. That food bank services all of Northern Illinois except for the city of Chicago, which has its own food bank because of the population. Our second service project was at a Christian food packaging and distribution organization called Feed My Starving Children. The organization assembles bags of foods containing rice, lentils, and dried vegetables, and ships them to developing countries all over the world. The process was very much like an assembly line, with each work camper in charge of a specific job during the bagging process. We were very efficient. We were among about 30 other people who were also volunteering at the same time. Each one of us, each group had its own packaging station. And at the end of the session, the employees brought all the volunteers to the back room, to the warehouse to pray over the bags of food that would be shipped around the world. Our last service project was at the Church of the Brethren General Offices in Elgin. We had the task of taking apart the name tags that participants used during this summer's Church of the Brethren annual conference. So this required taking off the stretchy part that goes around your neck, the string, from the plastic name holder. So this is probably the most difficult service project for our group, just because it required a lot of fine motor skills. And many of the participants had tied, many with double and triple knots, their name tags. So thank goodness for scissors, we clipped a lot of those. So that helped somewhat. While at the general offices, we also had the chance to tour the offices and see the different agencies that work there. Personally, that was one of the more special moments for me at the work camp, as I had spent a year in BVS in Elgin, Illinois, working in the BVS office. So it was nice to see many familiar faces and catch up with a lot of people that I hadn't seen in many years. The week didn't consist solely of work, however. We did several recreation activities, including going bowling, going for ice cream, was a Brethren work camp after all, and going to a minor league baseball game. The highlights of the week, there were two really, I would say, two main highlights of the week. So on the day that we were at the Church of the Brethren General Offices, we led the chapel service. So every Wednesday at the General Offices, they have a chapel service for the employees that work there. So it's lasts maybe 15, 20, 30 minutes. So since we were working there that day, then we decided that we were going to plan and lead that chapel service. So every participant had some sort of role in the service, whether it was helping to read a scripture, passing out bulletins, helping to lead music, or playing a percussion instrument during the hymns. It was so meaningful for the work campers to be able to lead the service, and it was something that was talked about as a sense of pride for them during our devotions that night. At the end of the chapel service, it was great to see the journal office employees and the work camp participants mingling, talking, laughing, and getting to know each other for a few minutes before everyone went back to work. The second highlight of the week was at the minor league baseball game. From an entertainment standpoint, it was just okay. Minor league baseball is what it is. It was a good game. But we were really struck by the generosity and hospitality that we were shown. As soon as we arrived at the stadium parking lot, we inquired with the parking lot attendant about the best place for our group to park and most easily enter the stadium. And the parking lot attendant ended up giving us a free parking pass and allowed us to park closer to the stadium. We were very appreciative, not only because we had just finished a long day of work, but because one of our participants had some mobility issues. Also during the game, a couple that was seated in front of us, in front of our group, gave us a funnel cake that they had bought just for us to share, so we really appreciated that. And toward the end of the game, we learned that the team allows fans to run the bases at the end of the game. We spoke with stadium officials about where the best place would be for our group to line up and get onto the field. And they decided to allow our group to run the bases first before allowing any other fans onto the field. So with about 2 or 3 outs in the game, the officials walked us down to the gate by first base until the game was over. And as soon as the players left the field, we were escorted onto the field and were able to run the bases in front of everyone. The work campers were beaming as they were running around the bases, and people were cheering in the stands. This was very meaningful to them. As soon as we got by home plate, the mascot was there and several players to greet us. Really felt that the team and the organization were very accommodating and really went out of their way to make sure we had a great experience. The We Are Able work camp was full of moments that many of our participants don't often have the chance to experience. They made a difference in the lives of others, both locally and globally. They made friendships and connections with one another and had fun experiences in the community. For the work camp leadership, it was a great chance for us to serve alongside the participants and enjoy the meaningful moments alongside them.